Jinwoo sat at his small metal desk staring at the endless reports on his computer screen. The human diplomatic station felt more like a prison than an embassy floating in the dark space around. Nexus Prime, for 3 long years he had been the voice of Earth at the big meetings with alien races from across the galaxy, but most days he felt like no one was listening. The station was tiny compared to the massive alien ships that came and went from the neutral world below. Jinwoo could see them through his small window, giant crystal vessels from the crystalline collective that looked like flying diamonds. Dark angular ships from the Vorthak Empire with surfaces that seemed to eat light. Beautiful flowing vessels from the water-dwelling. Equans that moved like swimming creatures even in space. Every morning Jinwoo put on his best diplomatic suit and tried to convince these ancient civilizations that humanity deserved a place at the table. The aliens had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, while humans had only figured out faster than light travel 200 years ago. To them, humans were babies playing with dangerous toys. The other ambassadors barely spoke to him during council sessions. They would nod politely when he spoke, but Jinwoo could see the look in their multiple eyes or sensor clusters or whatever they used to see. The look that said humans did not belong here, the look that said they were waiting for humanity to prove they were not ready for. Galactic civilization. Jinwoo rubbed his tired eyes and reached for his coffee mug. The brown liquid had gone cold hours ago, but he drank it anyway. Earth coffee was one of the few things that reminded him of home. The artificial gravity on the station was set to match human normal, but it still felt wrong. Somehow everything here felt wrong. A loud bang made him jump as his office door flew open. Young Mi rushed in without knocking. Her usually perfect black hair was messy and her diplomatic uniform was wrinkled. She carried a datapad in her shaking hands, and her face was white with fear. Young Mi was the best assistant Jinwoo had ever worked with. She spoke 7 alien languages fluently and could navigate the complex rules of galactic diplomacy better than people with decades of experience. But right now she looked terrified. Jinwoo, she said in a voice barely above a whisper, "You need to see this right now." "What is it?" Jinwoo asked, standing up from his chair. "Is there a problem with tomorrow's meeting?" Young Mi shook her head and handed him the datapad. "Taehyun intercepted this message 20 minutes ago. It's encrypted, but he managed to break the code. It's from the Vorthak Empire to the Crystalline Collective." And Wu took the pad and looked at the short message displayed on the screen. The words were in standard galactic script, but their meaning hit him like a punch to the stomach. "The vote is scheduled for tomorrow. Once we declare humanity a galactic threat, we can move forward with containment protocols. The primitive species must not be allowed to spread further." Jinwoo read the message again, thinking he had made a mistake, but the words stayed the same. He looked up at young Mi, who was watching his face with growing concern. "Where is Taehyun?" Jinwoo asked. "In the communications room," Young Mi replied. "He found more messages. We think this is bigger than just 2 species." Jinwoo followed Young Mi through the narrow corridors of the station. The diplomatic section was quiet since most of the human staff had gone to sleep hours ago. Their footsteps echoed off the metal walls as they walked quickly toward the communications center. Taehyun was hunched over a bank of monitoring equipment when they arrived. The intelligence officer was young for his position, but he had a gift for understanding alien technology. His fingers flew across holographic keyboards as streams of data scrolled past on multiple screens. Taehyun looked up when they entered. "Sir, I have bad news." "Very bad news? How bad?" Jinwoo asked, though he already knew the answer would be terrible. Taehyun gestured to the screens around him. "I have intercepted similar messages going to at least 12 other major species in the council, the Zephyrians, the Mechanoids, the Elder Ones, and more. They are all talking about the same thing. A secret vote about humanity." Jinwoo felt his heart sink. The Galactic Council had over 300 member species, but the 12 races Taehyun mentioned controlled more than half of all military and economic power in the galaxy. If they decided humanity was a threat, there would be nowhere to run. "What exactly are containment protocols?" Jinwoo asked, though he suspected he already knew. Young Mi answered in a quiet voice. "According to galactic law, when a species is declared a threat to galactic peace, other civilizations have the legal right to take action to contain them. That can mean anything from trade blockades to forced relocation to complete elimination. Complete Elimination. Jinwoo repeated the words, tasting their bitter meaning. They want to wipe us out. The three humans stood in silence for a moment, looking at the evidence of conspiracy displayed on the screens around them. Messages between alien diplomats? Discussing human expansion rates. Messages analyzing human military capabilities. Messages debating whether humans could be controlled or if they needed to be destroyed. Haiyan broke the silence. Sir, according to these intercepts, the secret meeting is scheduled for tomorrow morning. They plan to hold the vote without any human representation and without even telling us it is happening. Jinwoo looked at his watch. It was already past midnight, which meant they had less than 8 hours before. The aliens might legally declare war on all of humanity. The nearest human military fleet was weeks away at faster than light speed. Even if they sent a message now, there would be no time for rescuing me. Pulled up a chair and sat down heavily. We need to contact Earth immediately. The president needs to know what is happening. Jinwoo nodded, but his mind was racing beyond warning Earth. What could they do? 3 humans on a small diplomatic station could not fight the combined military might of a dozen alien empires, but maybe they did not need to fight. Maybe there was another way. Haiyan. Jinwoo said. How many total species are members of the Galactic Council? 347, Sir. Haiyan replied. And how many are involved in this conspiracy? From what I can tell, 12 major species, and maybe 20 smaller ones that are following their legend. Wu felt a small spark of hope. That means more than 300 species do not know about this secret vote. Many of them are younger civilizations like us who joined the council in the last few thousand years. They might not be happy to learn that the older species are making decisions behind their backs. Mi looked up with understanding in her eyes. You want to expose the conspiracy? Jinwoo nodded. If we can prove that the major powers are violating council law by holding secret votes, then maybe we can turn this around. The council was supposed to be founded on principles of equality and representation. If we can show that those principles are being ignored, but how do we reach 300 species in 8 hours? Taehai asked. We do not have access to the main communication networks. Jinwoo smiled. For the first time in hours, that is where human creativity comes in. The aliens think they know everything about our technology, but we have been holding back some surprises. Over the next hour, the 3 humans worked frantically to decode more intercepted messages and understand the full scope of the alien conspiracy. They discovered that the secret meetings had been going on for months, with alien intelligence services sharing detailed reports about human activities. The aliens were afraid of how fast humans were expanding across the galaxy. In just 50 years since joining the council, humanity had established colonies on over 200 worlds. Human population had tripled and showed no signs of slowing down, but more than the numbers, what scared the aliens was human unpredictability. Most galactic species followed patterns that had not changed in millennia. They expanded slowly, lived for thousands of years, and made decisions based on traditions older than human civilization. Humans were different. Humans adapted quickly, learned alien languages in years instead of decades, and formed alliances with species that the older civilizations ignored. The aliens saw this as dangerous chaos that threatened the stable order they had maintained for millions of years. As dawn approached on Nexus Prime, Jinwoo realized that the aliens were not completely wrong. Humanity was changing the galaxy just by being part of it. But change did not have to mean destruction. Maybe it was time to show the galaxy that different could be better. The secret vote was scheduled to begin in 3 hours. Jinwoo looked at his 2 companions and made a decision that would change the fate of humanity forever. Get me a secure line to Earth, he said. It is time to show these aliens what humans do when someone tries to destroy our family. Dr. Sujin was deep in her research lab on Mars when the urgent message arrived. The red planet had become humanity's main scientific hub, with laboratories buried deep under the surface to protect them from radiation storms. She had been working for 16 hours straight, analyzing blood samples from human colonists who lived on worlds with different atmospheres. The message came directly from Ambassador Jinwoo on the diplomatic station, and it was marked with the highest security codes Sujin had ever seen. She read it twice before the meeting sank in. The aliens were planning to declare humanity a threat, and they wanted to know. Sujin called her research partner, Minho, who was working in the genetics lab 3 levels down. Within minutes, he arrived at her office carrying a stack of data tablets and looking confused about the emergency summons. What is so urgent that it could not wait until morning? Minho asked as he sat down in the chair across from her desk. Sujin handed him the message from Jinwoo and watched his face change as he read it. Minho was usually calm and logical, but now his hands were shaking as he set down the tablet. This explains everything, he said quietly. All our research, all the things. We have been hiding from the galactic community. They are afraid because they finally understand what we are for the past 5 years. Sujin and Minho had been conducting classified research into human adaptability the Galactic Council required all member species to share their biological and medical data, but Earth had been holding back their most important discoveries. The human government wanted to understand their own capabilities before revealing them to potentially hostile aliens. Sujin pulled up the first set of research files on her computer screen. These showed human immune system responses to alien pathogens that had been collected from dozens of different worlds. The results were startling. Look at this, she said, pointing to a graph that showed infection rates over time. When the crystalline collective was first exposed to Vorthak, bacteria took their immune systems over 300 years to develop resistance, but humans developed immunity in just 6 weeks. Minho nodded and pulled up his own research files on human brain activity. This shows similar results with language learning. Most alien species can barely learn one foreign language in their entire lifetime, which can span thousands of years, but human children living on alien worlds become fluent in multiple alien languages within a few years. Sujin had been studying human colonists on worlds throughout the galaxy, and the results were unlike anything seen in galactic history. Humans had successfully established thriving colonies on planets with gravity 3 times stronger than Earth, on worlds with atmospheres that should have been toxic, and even on frozen moons where other species needed massive life support systems. The most shocking discovery was how quickly human genetics adapted to new environments. Sujin had found evidence that human colonists were already showing genetic changes that helped them survive better on their new worlds, changes that would take other species tens of thousands of years were happening in humans within just a few generations. Minho brought up classified military reports that had been shared with their research team. Human soldiers, when properly trained, consistently outperformed alien troops in combat simulations. Even when outnumbered 3-to-1, human units found ways to win through tactics, creativity, and sheer determination. But it was not just about fighting. Sujin had documented cases of human engineers solving problems that had puzzled alien scientists. For centuries, human doctors had developed new treatments for diseases that affected multiple species. Human farmers had figured out how to grow food on worlds where other species had given up. The reason became clear when they looked at human psychology. Most alien species lived for thousands of years and thought in terms of centuries or millennia. They made careful, slow decisions and avoided risks because they had so much time to lose. Humans live for less than a century and learn to adapt, quickly take risks and find solutions under pressure. Sujin realized why the aliens were terrified. In their long lifespans, they had watched civilizations rise and fall slowly over millions of years. Species would develop space travel, expand to a few dozen worlds, and then stabilize at that level for thousands or millions of years before slowly declining. But humanity had gone from a single planet to over 200 colonies in just 50 years. At this rate of expansion, humans could potentially spread to thousands of worlds within a few centuries. They could become the dominant species in the galaxy before most aliens even noticed what was happening. Minho pulled up population growth charts that made the situation even more clear. Human population was not just growing, it was exploding. Most alien species had stable populations that barely changed over millennia, but human population had tripled since joining the Galactic Council and showed no signs of slowing down. Even more concerning for the aliens was human behavior in the galactic community. Instead of showing proper respect to the older, more established species, humans treated everyone as equals. They formed alliances with younger species, helped develop new technologies, and ignored the traditional power structures that had existed for millions of years. Sujin found reports from alien anthropologists who had been studying human culture. They were horrified by human stories. Movies and books that celebrated war conquest and survival against impossible odds, the aliens interpreted human entertainment as evidence of violent intent, not understanding that humans created fiction to explore ideas and emotions. The cultural analysis showed that humans valued individual achievement, rapid change, and the idea that anyone could rise to greatness regardless of their background. This was completely alien to species that had rigid social hierarchies unchanged for millions of years. Dr. Sujin looked at all the research spread across her desk and finally understood the full scope of what they were dealing with. The aliens were not just afraid of human military power or expansion rates, they were afraid that humans represented a completely different way of existing. In the galaxy where alien civilizations sought stability and tradition, humans brought chaos and change. Where aliens moved slowly and carefully, humans acted quickly and took risks. Where aliens respected ancient authority, humans questioned everything and demanded to be treated as equals. Minho voiced what they were both thinking. We are not just another species joining the galactic community. We might be their replacement. Sujin began copying all their research onto secure data storage devices. Jinwoo needed to understand exactly what humanity was capable of and why the aliens saw them as such a threat. But more importantly, he needed to understand that the aliens' fears were not completely wrong. Humans were different in ways that could reshape the entire galaxy. The question was whether that change would come through cooperation or conflict. Sujin hoped that by revealing the truth about human capabilities, they could convince the aliens that humans were not conquerors but partners who could help everyone achieve more than they ever thought possible. She sent the complete research package to Jinwoo with a message that summarized everything they had learned. Now, I understand their fear. We are not just another species. We might be their replacement, but maybe we can be their partners instead. As Sujin prepared to send the data, she realized that humanity's greatest strength might also be their greatest weakness. Humans adapted and changed so quickly that they seemed unpredictable and dangerous to species that valued stability above all else. The challenge would be proving that human adaptability could benefit everyone without destroying the galactic civilization that had existed for millions of years. The fate of humanity might depend on whether they could convince ancient aliens that change was not always destruction and that different did not always mean dangerous. Captain Dong Hyan stood on the bridge of the Silent Arrow, watching the massive council station grow larger on his main screen. The human stealth ship was invisible to alien sensors thanks to experimental technology that Earth had developed in secret for 3 years. Dong Hyan had commanded reconnaissance missions throughout alien space, gathering intelligence that kept humanity safe. The urgent message from Ambassador Jinwoo had reached him just 6 hours ago, and the mission was unlike anything he had ever attempted before. Infiltrate a secret meeting of the most powerful alien species in the galaxy and record evidence of their conspiracy against humanity. If they were caught, it would mean war. If they failed, humanity might be destroyed. His crew was the best Earth had to offer. Communications expert Hai Jin could monitor and decode alien transmissions in real-time. Tactical officer Kyung Ho managed their stealth systems and kept them hidden from the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. The three of them had worked together for 2 years and trusted each other completely. The council station was enormous, a spinning wheel of metal and crystal that housed diplomatic facilities for hundreds of alien species. Normal council meetings took place in the public chambers where any member could attend and observe, but Jinwoo had provided coordinates for a restricted section that most species did not even know. Exit. Dong Hyan maneuvered the Silent Arrow through the busy space traffic around the station. Alien ships of every size and design came and went constantly, but none of them detected the small human vessel gliding silently between them. The stealth technology worked by bending light and sensor waves around the ship, making it effectively invisible. Captain Haijin said from her station, I am picking up encrypted communications from inside the restricted section. The aliens are using a secure channel that changes frequency every few seconds, but I can track it. Good, Dong Hyan replied. Keep monitoring everything we need to record every word of this meeting. Kyung Ho reported that their position was perfect. They were close enough to intercept communications, but far enough away to escape quickly if necessary. The restricted section of the station had no windows, so the aliens inside would never see them even if their stealth systems failed at exactly the scheduled time. Hyjin detected a sudden increase in communication traffic. Sir, the meeting is beginning. I count 43 different alien species, all using the secure channel. They are using the old diplomatic protocols, which means this is extremely formal. Dong Hyan watched his screens as data flowed in from the secret meeting. The list of attendees was like a catalog of galactic power: the Vorthak Empire with their massive military fleets, the Crystalline Collective who controlled most interstellar banking, the Elder Ones whose civilization was older than human history, the mechanoids who built the most advanced technology in the galaxy. Hyjin activated the recording systems and began translating the alien communications in real time. The meeting started with the Vorthak representative who appeared on their intercepted video feed as a tall insectoid creature with 4 arms and compound eyes. Fellow representatives, the Vorthak said in the clicking language that Hyjin translated instantly, we gather today to address the human problem. This primitive species has become a threat to galactic stability and must be contained before they become unstoppable. The alien displayed holographic charts showing human expansion over the past 50 years. Dong Hyan watched in amazement as the data revealed just how quickly humanity had spread across the galaxy. 200 colonies meant 200 worlds, where humans were raising families, building cities, and creating new societies. The Crystalline Collective delegates spoke next, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed meaning. Our economic analysis shows that human trade practices are disrupting traditional commerce. They ignore established trade routes, form direct partnerships with younger species, and introduce new technologies without proper regulation. Dong Hyan realized that the aliens were not just afraid of human military power. They were afraid of how humans did business. Humans treated all species equally, ignored ancient hierarchies, and shared technology freely instead of hoarding it like the older civilizations. Dan Elder One, whose species had ruled parts of the galaxy for millions of years, presented the most damning evidence. Our cultural analysts have studied human history, entertainment, and social patterns. They glorify violence, celebrate conquest, and show disturbing willingness to sacrifice themselves for abstract concepts like freedom and justice. The alien displayed scenes from human movies and books showing space battles, heroic last stands, and humans fighting against overwhelming odds. What the Elder One did not understand was that these stories were about protecting others and fighting for what was right, not about conquest and domination. Speaker after speaker presented evidence of human danger. A military analyst showed combat simulations where human forces defeated alien armies through unconventional tactics. A sociologist explained how human colonies developed new forms of government that gave power to individuals instead of traditional authority figures. A economist demonstrated how human trade was making younger species more independent and less controllable. The most shocking moment came when a mechanoid presented biological analysis of human capabilities. Their species had created artificial bodies that could survive in any environment, but they were amazed by human natural adaptability. These creatures, the mechanoid said in electronic tones, can survive and reproduce in environments that would kill most of us. Their children adapt to new worlds within a single generation. At their current rate of expansion and adaptation, they could colonize any planet in the galaxy within a few thousand years. Dong Hyan looked at his crew and saw his own amazement reflected in their faces. The aliens had been studying humanity more carefully than anyone on Earth had realized. They understood human capabilities better than humans understood themselves. The debate continued for hours, with alien after alien explaining why humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to continue expanding. Some argued for immediate military action. Others suggested economic sanctions or technological restrictions. But they all agreed on one thing: humanity could not be allowed to continue growing at their current rate. The vote, when it finally came, was unanimous among the 43 Cs present. The resolution was simple and terrifying. Humanity would be declared a galactic threat and containment protocols would be authorized. This meant that any alien species could legally attack human colonies, blockade human trade, or even attempt to destroy Earth itself. As The meeting ended and the aliens began discussing implementation details. Donghan ordered his crew to compile all their recordings. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The most powerful species in the galaxy had secretly voted to destroy humanity, but as Donghan prepared to return to human space, he realized something important. The aliens had made their decision based on fear and incomplete information. They saw human expansion and adaptability as threats because they did not understand human motivations. Humans did not expand across the galaxy to conquer or dominate. They expanded because they were curious explorers who wanted to see what was beyond the next star. They adapted quickly because they had to survive in a dangerous universe. They formed alliances with younger species because they believed in treating everyone fairly. The aliens had studied human capabilities, but they had misunderstood human character. They saw the tools of conquest where humans saw the means of survival and exploration. As the silent arrow slipped away from the council station undetected, Donghan sent an urgent message to Jinwu. The evidence was clear, but so was the solution. Humanity needed to show the galaxy who they really were, not through military demonstrations, but through their actions and their values. The secret meeting had revealed the aliens' greatest fear, that humans would replace them as the dominant force in the galaxy, but maybe Donghan thought humans could show them that dominance was not the goal. Cooperation was. President So-young was awakened at 3 a.m. by her security chief, who burst into her private quarters in the presidential residence. The emergency call from Ambassador Jinwu had come through the most secure channels available, and the message was simple but terrifying. The galaxy was about to declare war on humanity within 30 minutes. So-young was sitting in the underground crisis room, beneath the Capitol building, surrounded by her top advisors. Defense Minister Wu Jin looked grim as he reviewed the military reports. Intelligence Director Yun-su was already coordinating with human agents throughout alien space. The evidence from the secret alien meeting was displayed on screens around the room. 43 of the most powerful species in the galaxy had voted unanimously to contain humanity. The legal authority for military action would be in place within hours. Madam President Wu Jin said, "We need to face reality. Our military forces cannot match the combined fleets of 43 alien civilizations. We have decent defensive systems around Earth and our major colonies, but if they coordinate a full-scale attack, we will fall within months." So-young studied the tactical displays showing human military assets scattered across 200 worlds. The Earth defense fleet was powerful, but it was designed to protect the home system, not fight a galaxy-wide war. The colonial militias were brave, but they were equipped for local security, not major battles. However, Yun-su had different information. "Madam President, we should not assume that this will be a conventional military conflict. Our intelligence services have been preparing for exactly this scenario for the past 5 years." Yun-su activated a new set of displays showing a complex network of information assets and contacts. Throughout alien space, human intelligence had not been idle during their years in the galactic community. They had identified weaknesses in alien military command structures, mapped communication networks, and developed relationships with dissatisfied groups within alien societies. The aliens made a critical error in their assessment, Yun-su explained. They focused on human military capabilities and expansion rates, but they ignored human intelligence, gathering, psychological warfare, and most importantly, our ability to inspire loyalty among other species. So-young leaned forward as Yun-su revealed the scope of human intelligence operations. Over the past 5 years, human agents had been working with younger alien species who felt oppressed by the older, more powerful civilizations. These species included the recently spacefaring Kaleri, who had achieved interstellar travel only 300 years ago, the peaceful Genti farmers whose homeworld produced food for dozens of other species, and the artistic Morvans, who had always felt like outsiders in galactic politics. These younger species were not part of the conspiracy against humanity. In fact, many of them had been excluded from the secret meetings entirely. They represented nearly 2/3 of the Galactic Council membership, but had little real power because the older species controlled most military and economic resources. So-young saw the opportunity immediately. Instead of preparing for a military conflict, humanity could expose the conspiracy and turn the aliens' fear against them. If the galaxy learned that the most powerful species were making decisions in secret without representation from smaller civilizations, it would violate everything the Galactic Council claimed to represent. I want to authorize Operation Revelation, So Young said, using the code name for a plan that had been developed, but never implemented. We are going to broadcast the truth to every world in the galaxy simultaneously. The plan was ambitious and risky. Human agents would hack into communication networks across hundreds of worlds, broadcasting the recorded evidence of the secret meeting to every intelligent species in the galaxy. The message would be simple: the powerful alien species had been making decisions about galactic membership without representation from smaller civilizations, but Operation Revelation was more than just exposing the conspiracy. It was about reframing the entire conflict. Instead of being seen as a dangerous threat to be eliminated, humanity would present itself as a defender of democratic principles and equal representation. Young Intelligence Officer J-Min had been coordinating with alien contacts for 3 years. He entered the crisis room carrying detailed files on every species that might support humanity in a political conflict. Madam President, he said, the Kaleri representative has been in secret communication with us for months. She believes that her species and dozens of others would support humanity. If they knew the truth about these secret meetings, the Kaleri were perfect allies for this kind of political warfare. They had joined the Galactic Council hoping for equality and cooperation, but had found themselves marginalized by species that had been traveling between stars for millions of years. The Kaleri leader had specifically complained to human diplomats about being excluded from important decisions. Min also reported success with the Genti, whose agricultural expertise was essential to galactic food security, but who were treated as simple farmers by the more technologically advanced species. Human agricultural scientists had been working with Genti farmers to develop new growing techniques that had prevented famines on multiple worlds. The artistic Morvans had been inspired by human music, literature, and visual arts to create a cultural renaissance on their homeworld. Human artists had collaborated with Morvan creators to produce works that celebrated diversity and cooperation instead of the rigid traditions favored by older species. So Young realized that humanity had been building a coalition without even knowing it. Their natural tendency to treat all species as equals had created friendships and alliances that the older aliens had ignored. These relationships could be the key to political survival. The technical challenges of Operation Revelation were enormous. Broadcasting to hundreds of worlds simultaneously would require hacking into communication networks that were protected by some of the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. But human computer specialists had been studying alien technology for years and had identified vulnerabilities that the aliens did not know existed. Technical specialist Yujin had been brought in to coordinate the broadcast systems. She estimated that they would have one chance to reach the entire galaxy before the powerful aliens could shut down the transmission. The message would need to be perfectly crafted to convince hundreds of different species with completely different cultures, and So Young spent the next 4 hours working with her team to create a message that would change the course of galactic history. The broadcast would begin with Jinwoo presenting the evidence of the secret vote, but it would quickly shift to show what humanity really represented instead of the dangerous conquerors described in the alien meeting. The galaxy would see human teachers working with alien students, human doctors treating patients from dozens of different species, and human engineers collaborating with alien scientists on projects that benefited everyone. The most powerful part of the message would be testimonials from the younger alien species themselves. They would explain how humanity had helped them develop new technologies, end famines, and create cultural renaissance. The message would be clear: humanity did not want to conquer anyone. They wanted to contribute, learn, and grow alongside their galactic neighbors. Defense Minister Wu Jin was skeptical about the plan. Madam President, what if this political strategy fails? What if the aliens ignore the broadcast and attack anyway? So Young looked around the room at her advisors and made the decision that would define her presidency. Then we fight. But we fight as the species that defended democracy against tyranny. We fight as the species that gave every civilization in the galaxy a voice in their own fate. The Message would end with a formal challenge to the Galactic Council hold an open vote on humanity. Status with full representation from all member species, not just the powerful ones. Let the entire galaxy decide humanity fate, not a secret group of ancient civilizations protecting their own interests. As preparations for Operation Revelation began, So Young realized that this was about more than just humanity survival. It was about what kind of galaxy they wanted to live in, one where power came from fear and domination, or one where different species could work together as equals. The aliens had declared war on humanity because they were afraid of change, but maybe it was time to show them that change did not have to mean destruction. Sometimes change meant growth, cooperation, and the chance for everyone to become something better than they were alone. Technical specialist Yujin had been working for 18 hours straight in the communication center beneath Seoul. Her fingers moved across holographic keyboards as she coordinated the most complex hacking operation in human history. The plan was to penetrate communication networks on over 400 worlds simultaneously and broadcast humanity message before the aliens could stop them. The technical challenges were enormous. Each alien species used different communication protocols, different encryption methods, and different network architectures. Yujin had assembled a team of the best human computer specialists from across the galaxy, and they were working together through quantum communication links to synchronize the attack. The timing had to be perfect. They would have maybe 10 minutes from the start of the broadcast before alien security systems could trace the signal and shut down the transmission. In those 10 minutes, they needed to reach every intelligent species in the galaxy and convince them that the secret vote against humanity was wrong. Yujin checked her countdown timer. 2 hours until the broadcast began. She had spent weeks studying alien communication networks, looking for weaknesses and backdoors that human intelligence had discovered over the past 5 years. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance on the diplomatic station orbiting Nexus. Prime Ambassador Jinwoo was preparing for the most important speech of his life. The message had been carefully written to appeal to hundreds of different alien cultures with completely different values and ways of thinking. Jinwoo would speak first, presenting the recorded evidence of the secret meeting. The galaxy would hear the aliens' own words as they discussed containing humanity without trial representation or even notification. He would emphasize that this conspiracy violated everything the Galactic Council claimed to represent: equality, representation, and peaceful cooperation. But Jinwoo knew that facts alone would not be enough. The galaxy needed to see who humans really were, not through the lens of alien fear, but through their actions and relationships. The broadcast would show human teachers working in alien schools, helping students from dozens of different species learn about science, history, and art. Human doctors would be seen treating patients with diseases that affected multiple species, often working for free in remote colonies where other species' doctors refused to go. Human engineers had collaborated with alien scientists on projects that benefited everyone. New faster-than-light drive designs that made interstellar travel safer and cheaper. Agricultural techniques that had ended food shortages on 17 worlds. Medical research that had led to cures for diseases that had plagued alien civilizations for millennia. Dr. Sujin had prepared a segment explaining human rapid adaptation, not as a threat, but as a gift to the galaxy. She would show how human medical knowledge had already helped cure diseases in multiple species and how human agricultural techniques had saved entire worlds from starvation. The most powerful part of the broadcast would be testimonials from alien friends and partners the Kaleri representative Jinsuk had worked with would explain how humans had helped them develop their first interstellar communication system without asking for anything in return. A Genti farmer would describe how human crop rotation techniques had saved their homeworld from a famine that would have killed billions. The farmer would explain that human agricultural scientists had worked alongside Genti farmers for months, teaching them new methods and learning traditional Genti growing wisdom. A Morvan artist would talk about how human music had inspired a cultural renaissance on their world. Human musicians had shared their instruments, techniques, and musical theories freely, leading to an explosion of new art forms that combined human and Morvan traditions. The message was designed to show that humanity did not expand across the galaxy to conquer or dominate. They expanded because they were curious explorers who wanted to learn about other species and share what they had. They formed alliances with younger species because they believed in treating everyone fairly regardless of age, size, or technological level. As the countdown reached the final hour, Eugen activated the hacking programs that would penetrate alien communication networks. The programs had been tested on isolated systems, but this would be their first real-world deployment on this scale. At exactly the planned time, communication networks across the galaxy began receiving an unauthorized transmission. The signal was being broadcast simultaneously to over 400 worlds, using a combination of hijacked relay stations and hidden transmitters that human agents had installed over the past 5 years. Jinwu appeared on screens throughout galactic civilization, speaking in the common diplomatic language that most educated aliens understood. Citizens of the galaxy, I am Ambassador Jinwu, representing humanity. We have discovered a conspiracy that threatens the principles upon which our galactic community was founded. The recorded evidence from the secret meeting began playing, showing alien leaders discussing the containment of humanity without any human representation. The galaxy watched as 43 powerful species casually debated whether to blockade, attack, or eliminate an entire civilization. But, as Jinwu had planned, the emotional impact came when the broadcast shifted to show what the aliens feared: human diversity, creativity, and cooperation. Instead of dangerous conquerors, the galaxy saw humans working alongside aliens as equals, partners, and friends. The testimonials from alien partners were devastating to the conspiracy. A young Calari engineer explained how human mentors had helped her species develop technology that had improved life for billions of her people. She spoke directly to the camera, saying, "Humans did not come to our world as conquerors, they came as teachers and friends." The Genti farmer testimony was even more powerful. He stood in fields of golden grain that covered his homeworld, explaining how human agricultural techniques had saved his species from extinction. The humans asked for no payment, no territory, no special privileges. He said they helped us because they believed it was right. The Morven artist segment showed the incredible cultural flowering that had occurred when human and alien creativity combined new forms of music, art, and literature that neither species could have created alone. The artist explained that working with humans had not destroyed Morven culture but had made it richer and more beautiful. Dr. Sujin presentation of human medical and scientific contributions was supported by data from 17 different species, showing how human research had led to treatments for diseases, cures for genetic disorders, and solutions to environmental problems that had threatened entire civilizations. The broadcast included footage of human colonies showing diverse communities where multiple species lived and worked together: human children playing with alien friends, human farmers working alongside alien agricultural specialists, human artists collaborating with alien creators. Most importantly, the broadcast showed that human expansion was not about replacing other species, but about creating space where everyone could thrive. Human colonies welcomed alien immigrants and visitors. Human trade practices were designed to benefit all participants, not just humans. As the 10-minute broadcast neared its end, Jinwu delivered the challenge that would change galactic politics forever. "We call upon the Galactic Council to hold an open vote on humanity status with full representation from all member species, not just the powerful ones. Let the entire galaxy decide our fate, not a secret group acting in their own interests." The broadcast ended with a simple message: humanity does not seek to dominate the galaxy, we seek to be part of it. We believe that different species working together can achieve more than any species can achieve alone. We ask for the chance to prove that cooperation is stronger than fear. Within minutes of the broadcast ending, communication networks across the galaxy were buzzing with activity. Younger species who had been excluded from the secret meetings were demanding answers from their representatives. Protests began on dozens of worlds as citizens learned that major decisions about galactic membership were being made without their knowledge. The powerful alien species who had organized the conspiracy found themselves on the defensive. Instead of implementing their containment plans, they were trying to explain why they had violated the democratic principles of the Galactic Council on hundreds of worlds' alien leaders received angry messages from their citizens asking why they had not been consulted about such an important decision. Many species had positive relationships with human colonies and were shocked to learn that their own governments had voted to eliminate humanity-gen monitoring systems showed that the broadcast had been seen by an estimated 90% of the galactic population. The message had spread beyond the original transmission as alien news networks began rebroadcasting segments and discussing the implications. The conspiracy had been exposed, but more importantly, humanity had shown the galaxy who they really were. The question now was whether the truth would be enough to save them from the most powerful military forces in galactic history. The aftermath of the galaxy-wide broadcast created chaos that had not been seen in galactic civilization for millions of years. On hundreds of worlds, younger species were demanding answers from their representatives about the secret vote that had been planned without their knowledge. Street protests erupted on dozens of planets as citizens learned that major decisions about galactic membership were being made by a small group of powerful species. Emergency session. Commander HFY was coordinating humanity diplomatic response from a command center that had been hastily established in the Sol government complex. Requests for meetings were flooding in from alien species throughout the galaxy. Most were from younger civilizations who wanted to form alliances with humanity, but some were from older species who were trying to contain the political damage. The Galactic Council was forced to call an emergency session within 72 hours of the broadcast. For the first time in over 1,000 years, every member species would be represented, not just the major powers who usually controlled council proceedings. The meeting would be held on the neutral world of consensus, where the council had been originally founded. Millions of years ago, Ambassador Jinwu prepared for the most important diplomatic mission in human history. He would be representing not just humanity, but the principle that all species deserved a voice in decisions that affected their fate. The speech he would give could determine whether humanity survived as a free civilization or faced elimination by the combined military forces of the older alien empires. The council chamber on consensus was enormous, designed to accommodate representatives from hundreds of different species with vastly different physical requirements. Some delegates breathed methane, others required high radiation environments, and a few existed as energy patterns rather than physical beings. When Jinwu entered the chamber, he was amazed by what he saw. Instead of the usual gathering of 50 or 60 major species, there were over 300 representatives present. The younger species who had been excluded from important decisions for millennia had finally been given a voice. The Vorthek Empire representative tried to maintain control of the situation by speaking first. Fellow council members, we called this emergency session to address the illegal broadcast that violated our communication networks and spread propaganda throughout the galaxy, but the Kaleri representative interrupted before the Vorthek could continue. The illegal activity was your secret meeting that violated every principle of representation and equality that this council was founded upon. You voted to eliminate an entire species without giving them the chance to defend themselves. The chamber erupted in voices as dozens of species began speaking at once. The older powerful species tried to justify their actions by arguing that humanity's rapid expansion and military capabilities posed a legitimate threat to galactic stability. They pointed to human combat effectiveness and population growth as evidence of future danger. However, the younger species rejected these arguments completely. A representative from the Genti Agricultural Confederation stood up and delivered a speech that silenced the chamber. When the humans first came to our world, we were dying from crop failures that had lasted for 3 growing seasons. Our children were starving, and our elders spoke of the end of our civilization. The Genti continued. Human agricultural scientists came to our world and worked in our fields alongside our farmers. They shared their knowledge freely and asked for nothing in return. They saved billions of lives and asked only to learn about our traditional growing methods in exchange. Today, our harvests feed 17 different worlds, and the techniques we developed together have ended famines throughout this sector of the galaxy. A Morvan artist spoke next about how human creativity had inspired a cultural renaissance that had spread to dozens of worlds. Human music, literature, and visual arts had not destroyed alien culture but had enriched it, creating new forms of expression that celebrated diversity rather than conformity. The most powerful testimony came from a representative of the elder ones themselves, one of the oldest and most conservative species in the galaxy. The ancient being had lived for over 50,000 years and had seen the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations. I have watched species grow and expand across the galaxy for millennia, the Elder One said in a voice that resonated through the chamber. Most follow predictable patterns. They reach a certain level of development and then remain stable for millions of years, gradually declining as they lose the drive to explore and grow. The Elder One continued, but humans are different. They do not expand to conquer or dominate. They expand because they are driven by curiosity and the desire to help others. In my long life, I have never seen a species that consistently uses their advantages to benefit others rather than themselves. The debate continued for 3 days, with representatives from hundreds of species sharing their experiences with humanity. Some spoke of human teachers who had helped educate their young. Some described human doctors who had developed treatments for diseases that had plagued their species for generations. Others told stories of human engineers who had helped solve technical problems that had seemed impossible. Powerful species who had organized the secret conspiracy found themselves increasingly isolated. Their arguments about human danger seemed hollow when confronted with testimony from dozens of species who had benefited from human cooperation and friendship. On the final day of debate, the vote was called. The question was simple: should humanity be declared a galactic threat and subjected to containment protocols, or should they be recognized as a full member of the galactic community with all rights and responsibilities? The voting process took 6 hours. As each species had the opportunity to explain their decision, the results were overwhelming. 291 species voted to recognize humanity as a full galactic citizen. 37 species voted for containment protocols. 19 species abstained. The powerful species who had organized the conspiracy were forced to accept the democratic will of the galactic community, but the victory came with new responsibilities. The Council also passed regulations requiring any species that reached a certain level of expansion and influence to accept monitoring and mediation to prevent conflicts. Humanity accepted these conditions, understanding that their rapid growth did create legitimate concerns that needed to be addressed through cooperation rather than conflict. Human colonies would accept alien observers. Human military forces would participate in joint training exercises with alien forces, and human expansion would be coordinated with galactic planning councils to ensure that resources and territories were shared fairly. President So Young addressed the galaxy from Earth, thanking the species who had supported humanity and promising that humans would use their capabilities to benefit everyone. The human government established new programs to share medical, agricultural, and technological knowledge with any species that requested it. 6 months after the secret vote crisis, Ambassador Jinwoo stood on